If you don't think central bank digital currencies are coming, you are missing the big and important picture. This is going to be the biggest overhaul of the global financial system since Brettonwoods. Speaking of Brettonwoods, this IMF article alludes to a huge change coming but lacks real clarity outside of allowing much more fiscal stimulus via monetary mechanisms. And tomorrow, the IMF holds a conference on digital currencies and cross-border payment systems. But it's not just the IMF. This was first floated by Mark Carney at the Bank of England over a year ago and set the course for a new system. His big idea is to move away from the dollar, using central bank digital currencies so its effects on world trade, flows, and debts was not so pronounced. The ECB weighed in many times in the last year, but the latest is clear. CBDCs are coming, and soon. Next up was the regulatory changes in the US, allowing for bank custody of digital assets, especially Bitcoin, i.e., the acceptance that digital assets are not going away and in fact are the future. On Monday, Jay Powell gives his input on central bank digital currencies at the IMF talk listed above. Central bank digital currencies are coming and they will change everything. They are coming under stealth of cross-border payments, but it means so much more. They allow the central banks to circumvent the banking and fiscal system and give or take money, tax, or transfer payments directly. That completely changes monetary versus fiscal policy forever. Central banks will now be able to manage fiscal policy outside of government balance sheets. They can give, for example, restaurant owners a direct payment or stimulus whilst at the same time charging negative interest rates on larger savers. They can create direct tax payments too in the rails of the payment system. No more IRS? Multi-interest rates set centrally will be the norm. No one needs to allow the banks to set interest rates based on capital availability or risks. Central banks can now create a defined cost of capital to whomever they please, if they can get the powers by the governments, which will come. Don't forget, it absolves any spending responsibility in a crisis from governments, and after 2008 and 2020, they are desperate for it. It will also push behavioral economics to the forefront based on big data and real-time activity data. Central banks can now create incentives directly as rewards or punishments. It will also push behavioral economics to the forefront based on big data and real-time activity data. Central banks can now create incentives directly as rewards or punishments. Central banks can now create incentives directly as rewards or punishments. Central banks can now create incentives directly as rewards or punishments. They can affect human behavior in a way that is much less blunt than traditional monetary or fiscal policy. Due to all of this, many will say it's taking even more freedoms away, and in some ways it is. It also gives those disadvantaged by lack of capital a better chance, a key problem. Right now it has to be via debt at punitive rates, but this changes all of that. Poor can get direct transfer payments with the debt in the central bank balance sheet. It's the key step towards UBI, which too is good and bad. It's the key step towards UBI, which too is good and bad. It's the key step towards UBI, which too is good and bad. It's the key step towards UBI, which too is good and bad. And the reality is we don't really have any freedoms from governments or central banks if we operate in the main system, i.e. X-Gold and Bitcoin. And the big tech firms already have perfected behavioral economics as a way of changing human behavior. But the key part here, outside of a totally revolutionary way to collect taxes, give incentives, and overhaul the entire system, is an implicit agreement at the IMF level that central banks can run unlimited balance sheets if they combine forces. The move eventually, in late, say, 3 to 5 years, away from the dollar towards a basket of currencies, the Libra idea, which was the light bulb moment, then they can all agree to increase balance sheets together to avoid single countries getting penalized via foreign exchange. Again, there will be huge benefits to the new system, but it can only mean a further debasement of the entire fiat currency system. Again, there will be huge benefits to the new system, but it can only mean a further debasement of the entire fiat currency system.
All right, shalom, shalom. And first and foremost, let me give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakodash. A double honors to the apostles and elders. Salutations to Akim. All right, that's out there doing the work in truth and in sincerity. All right, so I just want to say this, man, with the evidence and the tidbit information that we've received, pretty much substantiates our claim. It upholds our claim that the mark of the beast, all right, is indeed the RFID chip. Based on the evidence, based on the information, and how this evidence pretty much comes together, and it pretty much draws the picture that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, all right, starting with our elders, apostles on down, all right, it substantiates all the claims that we've been making, all right, as far as the RFID chip pretty much being the blood life, for lack of better words, of how the society is going to be ran. Okay. Consistent talks about a digital dollar, digital currency, consistent talks, and this is the information, consistent talks of America, the dollar, being replaced by digital currency, consistent information on the dollar failing. Now we got new information about the new Brettonwoods and the new global standard, the new reserve currency, which China is going to be leading that. All right. And with all that we have, we can clearly see, what the agenda is. All right. And what's what. And thanks to the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Now, can the people that oppose the notion or the truth that the RFID chip is indeed the mark of the beast, can they substantiate or uphold a claim proving us wrong? I believe not. Okay, because there really is no evidence. All right. Most of the time, like with certain groups, HOI, we get these unclear and incomplete statements. As such, the mark of the beast is sin. And that's completely unsubstantial. It doesn't uphold. Okay. Because, we know that the mark of the beast is an actual thing. Okay. And in fact, I just want to reflect the point that it mentioned in Revelations, the 13th chapter. I think it's about, yep. And I'm going to start at Revelations 13 and 16. It says, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their foreheads. All right. Who's going to be the main engine that does this? The central banks, i.e. Esau's, that's his establishment. All right. Pretty much the central banks are going to have control over everything, every movement of every item. OK, but the point being in verse 18. All right. And it's a simple point. OK, it says, in that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, right, or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Verse 18. Here's the point. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. All right. For it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And we find that out through the tidbit information that we've been receiving through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Shai, which we know this to be a universal product code. The number of for it's the number of a man, and his number is 666. All right. And that's an actual thing. That's the universal product code. All right. And this universal product code applies to all items worldwide, no matter what it is. All right. It's an item. It can be tracked. All right. And the system to where this item is or this number is applicable to is Esau's beast system. OK. And so you put two and two together, and you get four. You get a moth. You get the truth. OK. And that's basically what's happening here. All right. With those that the Lord is dealing with and those that he's not dealing with. Hey, even David, Moses said, let that table be made a snare. OK. And that which would have been for your welfare is going to be it's going to be a snare to you as well, man. All right. And through the spirit, we receive these things, not of our own. OK, so that we may know all things, because wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation and strength of salvation. Knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of your times, man. All right. So knowing and understanding, all right, is what's making us ahead of the game, so to speak. It puts us ahead of the game. All right. So let's get Luke 12 and I'll hit the point. All right. Luke 12:54. And this is what it says to these hypocrites. All right. Who are supposedly the leaders of Israel, right? It says 12:54. It says, and he said also to the people, when ye see a cloud rise out of the west, straightway ye say, there cometh a shower. So it is. And when you see the south wind blow, ye say, there will be heat, and it cometh to pass. Ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky and of the earth, but how is it that ye do not discern this time? Right, and that goes to say, how in the hell do you see all these things happening? All right, and all the evidence being made manifest or becoming clear, because that's what evidence means. It basically is clear. You see all these things, but you cannot discern. You cannot spiritually discern the times that we live in. All right, and see the trick is, Jake. The trick is that the Lord has made it seem as though these things could be far off based on, the information that we see front hand. All right, we don't get to see what goes on behind doors as far as what Esau is doing. But the Lord has made it seem as though this thing is far off. Like, it's going to be flying cars and it's that perception thing that people have that pretty much convolutes or messes up their understanding in most areas. Well, yeah, these people, they can, hey, I guarantee you, if it came down to sports, they could tell me how much, a certain person could average, but they can't see this thing unfolding in front of their eyes. All right. And you know what? It has everything to do with the Lord being glorified. All right. Because these people are seeking instant gratification. As Israelites, they want to be celebrities. And really, it's not about feeding the flock and preparing them for the times to come. For them, it's more so, being praised and having vain glory. All right. So 2 Ezra 16. And let me see. Is it here? Here we go. 2 Ezra 16:38. It says, as when a woman with child is in the 9th month, bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Right. So this is how the destruction is going to come. Well, it's going to say slack. It says, even so shall the plagues be slack, slack. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrows shall come upon it on every side. O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle. All right. And in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. Why? You're going to have to be a pilgrim, because this establishment, they're going to make sure you are one. All right. Or I would like, basically, I want to say, if you don't make yourself a pilgrim, they're going to destroy you. All right. And this pretty much is the mindset that our people are supposed to be putting on. You blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans that know the truth. You're supposed to be ready because, you have a battle, you have a war. All right. And it starts in the mind first. But then you have these different warring factions, i.e. Esau, Edom, who's going to try to war against you. And he's doing it in such a way that it ain't physical at first. It's more psychological, all right? And he's created an establishment, based on, the psychological warfare, But things are going to get very stringent. You're talking about corporations pretty much taking over the government, central banks being able to dictate and do whatever they want, man. All right, so things are going to definitely turn up, But, hey, the gist of this lesson was to, to say basically, it's basically, it's evident, but these people, they just don't get it. Okay? Let me see. It's in Matthew, I think. This is Matthew 11:25. It says, and at that time, Yahushua answered and said, "Oh, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent and hast revealed them unto babes." And that was the kingdom, all right, because he spoke in parables, okay? And for the most part, that's how these people see what we speak. Parables, but he revealed them unto the babes. So we have the revealment of the kingdom, and practically, basically, what leads up, everything that leads up to it. Okay, so we're not going to be, all right, caught unawares, as the scriptures talk about. Okay, because this day is coming as a thief, and people are not going to understand it, and it's going to devastate people who do not know which way society is going. It's going to devastate you Israelites, because a lot of you are going to be conflicted and confused about taking an RFID chip when the evidence is clear, man. And you clearly got these people leading these people astray, but the scriptures say what they say. Let their table be made a snare. David said it. Moses said it. Hint, he's the same person, but 1 Thessalonians 5:1. But of the times and seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. All right, and the day of the Lord, yes, that's when all society breaks down. Okay, it says, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. And that's what's going to happen. All right, they're talking about a grid shut off, people's lights going off. They're talking about a food shortages, and this is all going to happen because it's going to be generated. It's going to be forced. Okay. And it's going to come upon you people as a thief. Everything we're talking about, the whole RFID chip, the whole digital currency, digital system. All right. Digital currency being set up. These are different. These plagues that's coming are different catalysts to push this agenda through. All right. The whole pandemic was a catalyst to bring in a new world order, to force it upon the people, to take away their rights. And we're seeing everything that we've seen in the movies, everything that we've seen in books, these esoteric revealments and all of this other stuff about the Illuminati. We're seeing it play out in front of our face. And there ain't no excuse to whereas, whether or not you got this information or not. Okay? Because it's quite clear, and that's pretty much all I had. All right. But verse 4, it says, "But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief." All right. And most of you Israelites, man, you're going to be taken because you conflicted between the two, whether or not the RFID chip is the mark of the beast or whether or not it is. All right. Slacking, if I even said it right. But yeah, ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the light. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. And that's what this is about. That's why we can see these certain things come into play. All right. Because we're watching. We're not asleep. For they that sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. But let us, who are of the day, be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet, the hope of salvation, which is which is pretty much our foundation. Hope in Yahweh Shai, hope that we would be saved. And that's what this is about, knowing that you're Israelite, all right, only to obtain salvation. As it says, for the Most High hath not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, who died for us, that whether we wake or sleep, we should live together with him. All right. Wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as also ye do. All right. And that's why we pump out these lessons, so that we could build Akim, build ourselves, because we learn from, the Spirit, and the Spirit speaks through us. So it's definitely a teaching moment, even when we're teaching, if you get what I'm saying. But hey, Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders. Salutations to Akim. Shalom.